As I'm sure many of you have heard now that a chef is speaking tonight, but I won't be sharing any secret family recipes or doing a demo on making spaghetti and meatballs. I will be offering you insight into the often overlooked relationships involved in bringing food from the farm to the table. I am Alex Gigger, the executive chef of Just a Taste in St. James, Missouri. We like to say that we're a wine and craft cocktail bar with a restaurant problem. When I moved back to this area over 4 years ago and accepted my first gig as a chef, I knew above all else that I wanted to source my ingredients locally. As a chef, I believe that farmers and restaurants should work together in order to give diners the best tasting and healthiest experience. I believe that restaurants should play an integral and active part in their community, as well as be transparent about their practices. In the same light, I'm also practical. Sometimes it's just not feasible, or especially seasonal Missouri weather, I'm talking to you. But in my kitchen, the philosophy is that the best ingredients are the freshest, which creates the most delicious final outcome. Cooking really starts out in the field when a seed is planted, and who better to consult than local farmers? In this day and age of fast-paced social media and endless feeds of both idyllic pastures and insta-perfect food shots, sometimes the actual chef-farmer relationship can get lost in all the scrolling. Here's a little taste of those relationships at work for a week. I walk up to the restaurant and I see a bag hanging on the back door. It's full of squash and mint, a lot of mint. I take the bag and I walk into the kitchen, turning the lights on. My phone rings. It's Larkin of D&L Farms in Bland. They've just dropped off some beef, and I find out she's the one that's left the squash and mint by the back door at no charge. My phone rings again, and it's Marys Valley Meat Processing in Stillville. They need my packing and cutting instructions for my share of the beef. Steaks, ground, roasts, what about the tongue, liver? This itself is a very detailed process, and another whole talk for another day. Ding! Facebook Messenger. Jane, the queen of Moondance Farms in Owensville, scheduling our weekly farm fresh egg delivery. Sometimes beef, sometimes honey, sometimes veggies, always eggs. The next day, Jan from the Funny Farm drops off 40 pounds of beautiful heirloom tomatoes in all shapes, sizes, and colors, gently laid in a box on a bed of hay, still warm from the sun. And nearly 10 different varieties of fresh clipped herbs. We talk in detail about a new variety of bean called Dragon's Tongue that she's growing this year. New varieties of heirloom beans, greens, tomatoes really get me excited. I call Amy of Meadowlark Farm in Cuba, planning, or rather scheming, the details of our next open fire hog roast featuring their large black heritage breed pasture-raised pork. Her sister April of Everyday Good Life Co-op in Owensville will arrange for local veggies and other specialties. Oh, well, I've got you on the phone. I also need 5 pounds of bacon and a pork loin for the restaurant. Then it's a quick run out to lunch at another like-minded restaurant, the Four Way in Cuba. My buddy Chef Sam has just got in some killer greens. Hey, Sam, where'd you get these greens? Ah, man, a lady down the road just dropped some off. I'll send her your way. We talk about fermenting hot peppers and exchange contacts of farmers we've both been using this season. Later on, back at the restaurant, there's a knock on the door in the middle of service. It's Nicola and Dan of Ozark Forest Mushrooms dropping off our weekly delivery. They catch us on their way from St. Louis to their farm near Stillville. Saturday morning, early. The alarm clock goes off. Rolla Farmers Market. Over to Mush Family Farms for a CSA box full of beautiful produce and to discuss the delivery of lamb in the next coming weeks. Then it's 3 other bags full of beautiful vegetables, all destined for the night specials from a handful of other vendors, while inevitably getting caught up in conversations about the weather, crops, bugs, and what'll be ripe next with each one. A startled look at the time, and it's off to the races, back to the restaurant, just in time for lunch. There's another farmer in for lunch. They've brought samples. We introduce ourselves, and another relationship starts to form all over again. Whew. That's nearly a dozen different producers on a slow week. Constant communication. But why? Why would I do all of this when I could just phone it all in? For me, there are many reasons, all which far outweigh the extra work and effort put into human relationships focused on food. Taste is probably the main one, at least the most obvious for me as a chef. A tomato from across the road, still warm from the sun, is infinitely better than those pale, grainy deceivers trucked in from thousands of miles away. Human interaction is the second. I love working with like-minded, passionate individuals who share a common goal and vision as myself. It's what inspires me the most and leads me to create some of the most delicious food that I'm most proud of. There are other reasons, overlooked maybe. Better food quality and safety, collaboration, economic value, and symbiotic marketing. In recent years, there's been a rise in the number of farmers markets, from just under 2,000 in 1994 to more than 8,600 markets currently registered at the USDA. Not just markets, but I'm sure people have started to notice the boom in farm-to-table marketed restaurants all across our country. For now, maybe it's a trend, but I would really like to think it's on its way to becoming the full-fledged business and industry norm. With recent outbreaks and concerns in our large-scale agro-industrial food system, people have continued to become more educated about where their food comes from. And that's a really great thing. As a chef working with local farmers, I can actually go visit the farm, talk to the farmer, and see for myself how they operate. This gives me so much more control over food safety standards and practices such as the use of pesticides or the welfare of farm animals. Not to mention the obvious side effect of all this great care and love, taste. Which leads us to collaboration. When I meet a new chef for the first time, a farmer for the first time, I'm usually asked, what would you like me to grow? I usually want some crazy heirloom, wild tomato or bean. Don't even get me started. It's a long conversation. So I usually just ask them back, what is it that you really love to grow? The back and forth collaboration through the seasons can lead to some pretty delicious and unique results. Our restaurant's commitment to purchase those results can give the farmers some stability to try out new things they wouldn't normally sell at markets. Which leads us to economic value. I think at this point, everyone here can agree, keeping your dollar local is a good thing. When you go out and you vote with your dollar and keep it within the community, it's beneficial on multiple levels. The National Farmers Union stated in 2017 that American farmers received only 17.4 cents of every dollar Americans spent on food. 17.4 cents. At farmers markets, farmers head home with upwards of 90 cents on the dollar. The same is true of restaurants and farmers. Part of the relationship is negotiating prices. We pay a fair price, usually set by the farmer, and do our best to pass that value on to our patrons. When we buy direct from a farmer, that's more money directly back into their pocket and into our local economy. The larger buying power of a restaurant, or better yet, many restaurants in a small community, can help create more jobs, create a more stable market, and helps make small-scale local agriculture a more viable career option to younger farmers looking to make a living in the industry. Simply put, when you choose to support a locally focused restaurant, you're not only supporting the restaurant and its employees, but the many others who help put food on your plate. By doing so, that's over 40 different people between our small restaurant and the dozen or so farmers we regularly work with. Lastly, and maybe the most fun benefit for me, is the symbiotic word-of-mouth marketing and hype that comes from working with like-minded, passionate individuals. From sharing each other's social media posts to collaborating on special events, I'm always excited and honored to pass on the hard work and passion that local farmers put into their work. Local farmers are always excited and honored that their hard work and passion is being featured front and center on the plate at local restaurants. We just can't quit talking about each other. Yeah, it's true. The next time that you come in and dine with us or anywhere else, pause and think for just a second about all the people working either behind the kitchen doors or out in the farms to put food on your plate. By doing so, you are choosing to play a role in these relationships that benefit the community we're all a part of. I know you will forget all about it once the first bite of the summer's juiciest, ripest heirloom tomatoes, still warm from the sun, hits your palate. Thank you.